Great. Welcome to today's conversation. True Northers, once again, we're talking about the professional to the professional, and we are going to have another interesting conversation around psychology, the practice, the person, our world, our nation, and everything to do with that. Karibu.
Asante sana.
I wondered if the first place you would want to begin with
Yeah.
is introducing yourself.
Okay, so my name is Kaye Alianda Makuku Makalwin. I have several names, about 7 of them, but I like to go under Kaye Alianda. So I'm practicing psychology, trained as a professional counselor. I've been in the field for like 4 years now, and continuing to grow in it and to learn. So I'm really excited by this conversation. I had no idea what I was jumping into, but I'm always one to try new things, and particularly because I'd read about your True North. I like the name. You probably have to tell me why that name. And I did like the work you were doing, so I feel really honored and privileged that you picked me.
Thank you.
Effectively.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I find that to be so interesting. The fact that when you went to study psychology, one of the requirements was to learn the local language, which has actually just led me to wonder why or how come it is you ended up going to South Africa to train as opposed to training locally.
I wanted a change in my life.
Okay.
I'd basically been working in the teaching profession. I think I'd hit my max. I'd done my time. So I was going like through an existential crisis and looking for a change in direction in my life. And I knew that being in this environment wasn't going to be good for me. So I really needed to just get out of this environment and kind of rebrand and recreate myself. Because one thing I realized when you're in the same space, you might be trying to move in a different direction, but because your friends, your family, they're also used to you being this, they also resist that change in you. So I just needed a clean break, get away, and South Africa worked for me because it's an African country, and I just thought, why not? Let me see something from a different perspective.
That is so interesting because I feel like part of, and maybe you'll tell me, do you think your evolution, you've called it rebranding, so let me use the word rebranding. Do you think your rebranding has contributed to how you show up for your clients in therapy sessions?
Yeah, definitely. Because I would say that coming from a very different approach there, where I found, just the fact that you go to a different culture, it forces you to re-examine yourself, where you're coming from and the culture that you're getting into. So I found that the culture there was very professional. People meant what they said. It's quite a competitive environment because there's a lot of psychologists, a lot of counselors. So if you're not on your A game, you're not going to succeed. So I find that I was able to take that kind of ethic with me, and just knowing that, you've got to be there for the client. There's no saying, 10 o'clock, you show up at 10:30 or whatever. So I found that really made me the way I am now today.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you can't say that it was the same for you as in when you started. It was able to grow you professionally and personally as well.
Oh yes, big time. Big time, because when you change your environment or when you change your culture, you're forced to examine certain things about yourself. So for instance, I realized one thing, that I didn't have filters before.
Oh.
Yes, I used to be this kind of person who just said things. Wasn't probably socially intelligent or emotionally intelligent, but there I found I had to be a lot more careful because you're dealing with so many different. Johannesburg is so cosmopolitan.
Yes.
There's so many different people, so many different cultures, and then just coming from that, the backdrop of apartheid, where there's a lot of sort of like people on eggshells, and you've got to be really careful what you say to people and judge the situation. So I learned to filter a lot more and to be more aware that I'm in a different context and be appropriate. And boundaries was another thing. So for me, I think maybe just having been in one place, I took it for granted because this is just how we operate, and you know.